when we read your applications, we were like, holy mackerel, right? Like, you all bring something interesting, you all bring something unique. That's why we have you here, and we're so excited to have all of you. And I will say, like, keep talking to each other, keep meeting each other. We will give you a lot of opportunities to do that. But this is a cool group, and one of the reasons, we have a couple of people in this class right now who are transfers from other counties. But even then we say, like, hey, come join our class, right? Because one of the best ways that you join the program is through your class, through your cohort. These will be the people who you'll always, like, everybody knows what class they were in, right? And everybody knows the people they met in their class. And so even as you become part of the bigger group, these people will kind of have a special place in your heart. So super exciting. All right. Now we're getting to it. Hopefully not too trivial. So some of the logistics for today, and we'll break at 10:30. So this won't go on forever, don't worry. And we'll break earlier if we can. So as you guys noticed this morning, right? Like I said in every email I sent you, parking is a bear here. We're trying to figure out some ways to maybe get extra parking at another lot downtown, but I don't know if it'll come through in time. So please just like know that, try to be prompt. I'm teaching this week and next week, but after that we typically have invited speakers. We have faculty coming from NC State, we have agents coming from surrounding counties, and those people all are kind of showing up and volunteering their time, and so we really like to have them be able to start on time with things going kind of right, because otherwise it can be a little bit hairy. We tend to pack a lot into every single class. You will get really, really excited during some of our talks, because it will be about that exact thing that's happening in your garden. Hold that spirit, hold that energy. If you have kind of really specific personal type questions, we will get to those at the end. You know, our speakers always hang out. They always have time to answer those questions, so try to keep the questions a little bit broad. I know we all are like, I saw a bug, and that's great, but like, that's how I live my life, right? Like, that's how I live my life. But if it's not a bug you've seen 5 times and talked to your friend about, you know, maybe that's an after-class kind of question. So for name tags, like I said earlier, we are name tag wearers. This is how we identify ourselves out in the community. These are really, really important. I will always be wearing my name tag to class because I just want to model that for you guys. And you have name tags where if you have anything you need changed on your name tag today, Bev had already probably talked to you about it, but mention it to Bev even if you're having a slight musing, because these are the name tags we'll ask you to actually hold on to basically for a year. If you lose it, we can replace it, but try not to lose it, okay? We are, aside from myself and Pano, we're entirely a volunteer organization, and so things can take a minute to get done and to get redone. And so it's a little bit easier for you to hold on to it's a lot easier for you to hold on to your name tag than need it replaced. You guys do have these are what we would consider temporary tags. They're the student or intern tag. And once you go through and get certified, you will then get your hard tag, which we are not like a very awardsy group, but the hard tag is for some reason something people get very excited about. It's like you've made it. So. We'll take pictures next week. I would love to see some, you know, school picture day cute outfits. You don't have to, I'm sure you look cute every day, but I'm just saying, like, if that's your moment, that you could do it. We'll take pictures and they will be put on our directory, so that when you look through the directory, you'll be able to see what people look like. And I will also send you guys all a sheet of all the pictures compiled into one place with names, because I know for some of us it's really nice to be able to look at it that way as opposed to being like, how was, you know, and trying to figure it out. So that'll be next week, and if there are any folks who can't be next week, we'll probably even have an overflow day the following week just to get that taken care of. One of our excellent master gardeners, Mary Knierim, helps us take all of those. So for class requirements, so right now you guys are in what we would call the student phase. When you signed up for your intranet account, you were designated a student in the intranet. Student phase is really when you're in class, right? It's this first, now through kind of April, where you're learning, you're doing this whole thing. You can volunteer, but typically people focus on just taking the class right now, and they start volunteering maybe a little bit more toward the end of class. Once class is done, you enter what we call the intern phase. That's where you are through the end of this year. If at the end of this year you've completed all your requirements, next year you go in certified, you know, hard tag phase, right? And you basically stay certified as long as you fulfill your annual requirements. So for the student phase, the major things you guys will be looking at will be, we will have quizzes basically every week. Some weeks we will have 2 quizzes. Spoiler alert, this week's one of them. It's fine, okay? Don't worry about the quizzes. The way the quizzes are set up is they're just on Google. They're Google Forms. I'll send you the links to all of them. You can take them as many times as you want. I don't care, right? Knock yourself out. Live your best life. Keep taking that quiz. You just need to get to the point where you've missed less than 2. Okay, you can miss up to 2, and then you're good, you're fine. That counts as your quiz score. They're pretty straightforward. They're not meant to be gotchas. They're really meant to you'll have done the reading for that topic. We'll have you take the quiz so you can test your kind of comprehension of what you just read, so that when you get to class, you're ready to learn that extra material. We try to make it so that our classes are not direct mirrors of the reading, right? I know some people loved that in school. I always kind of hated it in school when you'd show up and you're like, I just read this. Why are we doing this again? So a lot of times our speakers come in and they give kind of what I would say is like supplemental information, right? They go beyond the textbook. They give more. And so we want you to hit every single class knowing what was up, knowing kind of that baseline foundation. For some classes especially, like our orchard class, our tree fruits and nuts class, that class is held out at an orchard basically as a pruning demo. So if you didn't read a little bit about tree fruits and nuts, right, that's not going to make a whole lot of sense to you because you prune orchard trees really different than you prune normal trees. So, also, to assuage your fear, if you forget everything I am telling you, I will send you a detailed email by the end of the day, and it will include your links, what you need to do, and the main points we covered. Okay? You will get one of those every day we have class. You're going to be okay. I know a lot of times people sit in the first day of class and they're like, it was too much! And then they freak out. So for quizzes, quizzes will be a big part of showing that you have completed the class. We ask that you not miss more than 2 classes. You have 2 free pass absences, right? You just couldn't make it, something happened, whatever, right? No questions asked. I like knowing if one's coming up, but I don't need to know. Beyond that, we have recordings of every class. Sometimes it's the previous year's class, but it's the same information. What we ask is just that you watch that recording and you send me a fun fact from that recording, ideally not from the first 5 minutes, okay? Like show me, like at least try, right? So you send me a fun fact from that class, that counts as your attendance, okay? So you get to miss up to 2 classes. We do ask that you do every quiz though, because you will get questions on every topic. And so we want you to know every topic at least well enough, right? Or at least have been exposed to it. And then the other point I really want to make, and it's especially important this year, is that because you can always watch class recordings, you do not need to be here if you do not feel well. Okay? If you wake up feeling some sort of way, maybe just even in your head, that is a great day to watch a recording, right? Let's look out for each other. Let's make sure we're staying on top of things like that. It's not worth being here if you don't feel well just because we know, like, all the things, right? All the things are spreading right now. And it's just helpful to look out for each other in that way. So if you're not feeling well, please just sit that one out. The recordings are good. We have a lot of extra material. And I will always, if you even had questions, I would meet with you, right? Whatever you need, just take care of yourself. That's the most important thing to do. Okay. We also have, and we'll talk about this, I'll just mention it briefly. We don't need to go into more detail. You'll see in your packet we have something called the initial training project. In lieu of an exam, we do this project. We'll talk about this more next week. We're just giving it to you now in case you want to look through it, okay? This project is, it's in lieu of a final exam, so there's material, but it's really, really helpful. It's geared specifically to your own yard and your own situation. And we have numerous times worked into the class for us to work on it together, for us to answer questions. There are checkpoints. We do a lot to kind of try and spread it out, make it very doable, make it bite-sized chunks. So it's not a big deal, and I just want to give it to you to look at ahead of time next time. All right. Do we have any questions so far? This is a phase where it's okay if it's a personal question. Okay. Cool. Okay, so once you have finished your student phase, you'll move into your intern phase, like I said. And we, for the last couple of years, we've had lighter requirements because of COVID. We haven't had as many opportunities, but this year we are returning to 40 full hours. So it's 40 volunteer hours, which is actually really not hard to do. As Hannah likes to say, if you did one office shift a month, you would easily knock out your hours, right? Office is not for everyone, but we have a lot of cool opportunities. We have multiple demonstration gardens. We have a lot of ways to be out in the community sharing information. So typically, if you just plan your work a little bit, it's not hard to get 40 hours. And we have a lot of people who get well in excess of 40 hours, right? Because they find their thing, they find their love, and that's just what they want to keep doing.
I have a question.
Yes?
If we're already volunteering,
Yeah.
does that count, or can only start after we completed our?
No, you can absolutely start now. We'll talk about that a little bit in the second half when our tech guru Wanda comes and she'll show you how to log those hours. The thing about the volunteer hours is they are kind of volunteer hours that we offer that are approved, that are kind of specific set things. But we'll talk about it and we'll figure that out. But yeah, so for example, we have our big annual plant sale at the beginning of April. A lot of students typically like to try and help out with the plant sale because it's a good way to get to know people and it's just kind of a fun, chaotic event. So a lot of folks, they'll kind of start volunteering toward the end of the student phase, and that's totally fine. What you have to do is you just have to get 40 volunteer hours by the end of the year. You technically have to get 10 education hours, but guess what? You're all satisfying them right here, you know? So that satisfies your education hours. And then we ask that you attend 2 general membership meetings. These are the meetings where we get folks together. We have an education component. We have kind of a cool, we have an education component, and we also tend to have a sort of business meeting towards the end. So we can all just get together, be on the same page, share some of our successes, do that. We have 4 of those a year, and then we also have one meeting that is our recognition dinner, which we typically have over at Duke Gardens. Is really fun. It's kind of a nice way to mingle and just all be together, and that technically counts as one of those meetings. So there are 5 of them a year, and the 4 that are not at Duke Gardens are recorded. So, and same rules apply. My rule is always tell me a fun fact, you count, right? That counts for attendance. So we try to make it really flexible with people's schedules. So again, 40 volunteer hours, 10 education hours, 2 general membership meetings. That's what you need to kind of get certified and stay certified.
Sorry, Ashley?
Yeah.
Will you just say that little list of 3 things again?
Sure, 40 volunteer hours,
Yes.
10 education hours.
Education hours.
But again, you guys don't, right, you're covered. You're here.
Yeah.
That's going to get you your 10 hours.
Okay.
And then 2 general membership meetings. And you do have a page in your packet that I believe kind of spells that out. It's like the second page spells it out. No, it doesn't. Anyway, it's fine. We try. So anyway, okay, so that's straightforward. If you have any questions, let me know. If you're having trouble finding your volunteer opportunities, we'll try to get you kind of plugged into exactly where you want to be. But if it's like August and you're like, oh man, I got 10 hours, come talk to us, right? Talk to me, talk to Hannah, talk to any of us in this group, because we want to help you and we don't want it to be stressful and it shouldn't be hard, right? Like we're here to support you, we're here to help you and get you plugged in. We are very much of the ethos that we are all adults here. So you need to take some responsibility in terms of reaching out, right? Like I will be honest, right? You guys are 45 people, I already have 100 other people. I can't reach out to everyone individually all the time, but the moment you reach out to me, I'm there, right? I'm there. We'll figure it out. So if you have any questions, just reach out to me or anyone on the initial training committee or Hannah, and we'll be talking all throughout this training class so that you'll find that person that you feel comfortable with, that you feel like you can reach out to. As class progresses, we will have folks from different committees come and present about their committee so you can see some of those groups. But the things I'll put on your radar right now as really good opportunities where we need people will be the blog. We have an excellent blog. I'll send you a link to it in your wrap-up email. We need help with that team. Social media. is a great team. They have been doing kind of like the best work in terms of outreach and reaching communities we don't normally find. We need help on that team. Public events, so going out and being that friendly face at a table explaining what a soil sample is. And Speakers Bureau, which are kind of more involved talks. Those are our big four right now, that if you can find a place to plug into one of those big four, I mean, I'll love you either way, but first among equals is how we describe it in our house. So, and then one other thing that's kind of a benefit to being a master gardener is that we can typically get a slightly reduced rate on some of the classes at Duke Gardens, and we also can get a reduced rate on some of the training classes offered through NC State. So, and if you are, this is not a master gardener thing, this is just a life thing. If you're over 65, you can actually audit classes at NC State for free. So if you ever want to figure out any of that process, let me know. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we just discovered this. We had two of our really excellent master gardeners audit a home propagation course, which was really cool. So, if you ever have a question, just reach out to me. It doesn't apply in all circumstances, but like if you're signing up for a thing through NC State or Duke Gardens, it's always worth just kind of sending out an email real quick to be like, hey, is there a master gardener rate? To that end, if you haven't seen it before, I also want to share information about the Durham Garden Forum. This is our talk series we put on with Duke Gardens. These are on the, I believe, third Tuesday of every month from 7 to 8:30 at night. They are predominantly on Zoom, but we will be having at least one in-person talk this year. Our keynote speaker in September will be Bryce Lane talking about shade gardening. This is a really fun series. It is $25 per year, but you can always email the Durham Garden Forum Gmail and ask them for one free class, right? So they'll typically let you do your first one free so you can see if you like it or not. That is a master gardener named Gene Carlone. He's really phenomenal. He will write back to you. He'll be very, very helpful, especially if you tell him you're in the 2023 class and you want to try a free class. They'll let you in. If you end up wanting to sign up, you'll find this with us. We are delightfully old school. Our question is check or cash, typically. It's because it's government and it's actually really, really hard for us to take other payment forms. We're not just trying to be difficult. But if you wanted to sign up for the Durham Garden Forum, this is the sign up form for it in case you're interested. It's $25 for the whole year, which for 11 talks is really not bad. And also you get a video library of all talks that have been recorded. So that's all talks going basically back to early 2020 when we started doing that. Oh, and they do get, does anyone know what their discount is? Is it like 15%, 20%? No?
It's something that's.
Yeah, it's like a good discount at the Durham Garden Center and for Garden State.
20%.
Nice!
Yeah.
Actually, a question about the 10-hour education.
Mm-hmm.
Does this fit the requirement on attending one of these classes?
Absolutely. So the way you would fulfill those education requirements, and this isn't going to apply to you guys until next year, but you can we ask that even if you don't need those education hours, if you get them, you enter them. Because let me tell you the back end of this. The way we justify this program, the way we kind of crow about you at the state and federal level is through contacts, which are people that you interact with and share information with, and hours, okay? So when you hear me being like, enter your hours, it's because I'm like an hour vampire, right? Like I need them to survive. They are how we keep this going. And so it's very, very helpful for us when you enter hours, even if you already, if you do 40 volunteer hours and then you do 10 more, enter those extra 10. You didn't need them, but they're really good for us because it's how we show the value of this program to the people funding it. Same with education hours. So Durham Garden Forum would count. We have a really cool series through NC State called Plants, Pests, and Pathogens, which is really interesting and really fun and kind of all sorts of cool topics monthly. And then we have any number of different kind of ongoing education opportunities that you can interact with. And if you ever see something and you're like, hey, this seems like research-based gardening stuff, does this count? I'll probably be like, yeah, that looks really cool, tell me how it went, right? So it's not hard to find those education hours. Great question. Okay, a little bit of class logistics. So the first page in your little packet was this schedule. And we're gonna basically stick to this schedule as best we can. We have 2 makeup days at the end. They are April 27th and May 4th. We use those days as needed in case there is inclement weather, in case something happens, whatever it might be. At the bottom, you will see written a weather policy. That is, if you wake up and you're like, it's real snowy out, right? Call that number and they will tell you whether we're open or not. That's kind of the best way to do it. If the county's on a 2-hour delay or is closed for the day, right, we will not be meeting and we will take one of those makeup days. At that point, I'll send you an updated syllabus. You'll all be apprised of exactly what's going on. I will try to send emails that morning too, so if you're ever a little bit curious, it's worth checking your email real quick to see if I sent something out, because I try to stay on top of it. We work through this in a pretty predictable way, right? So next week we'll start with botany. That will be pretty straightforward. I'll teach that to just give you an overview of plants. Soil and fertility management, that's really a fun one. You won't think that, and then you'll go through it and you'll be like, oh my god, I wish I knew more about soil, right? Because that's always the joke, right? Is you're not growing plants for growing soil. If the soil's not good, none of this works. And then we kind of work through it, right? And it's really fun. We have all these different invited speakers. There really are kind of the best of the best for the different topics. The ones I will bring your attention to, see, these are when like initial training project parts are due, but again, we'll work through that so well before you guys get there, is that March 2nd, we will have an optional afternoon tour of Briggs Avenue Community Garden. It is our community garden space over on Briggs Avenue. That feels pretty self-explanatory. That's a really, really great space. I know a number of you are already volunteering there, but it's really fun to see, and you'll get to meet some of the master gardeners who work out there. We'll have more exact times for that to be declared, but again, just know that that's a possibility for that afternoon. The following week, March 9th, will be the fruit and nut production class. That will be out in Alamance County at the Buster Sykes Demonstration Orchard. We will probably take vans out there, but you can also drive separately, but we'll carpool for people who are interested. That one typically might go a little bit long, but it might not, right? So I would say, and certainly, I know a lot of us are still working and we have to, or caregiving and we have tight schedules. If you're out there and you're like, he's still going, but like, I gotta go, just go, right? That's totally fine. Don't ever feel like you need to like be beholden to something. If you have something else you need to take care of, just let me know ahead of time, especially. That's really helpful. March 16th, we're trying to figure out how this one works. I'm trying to get a field trip organized, but I think they might not be accepting folks right now, so that's fine. So worst case scenario, that will actually be office hours for the initial training project in case you have any questions. So that's an optional. This presenter right here for Rain Gardens, Mitch Woodward, is a delightful human being, and I will not be surprised if he does not secretly organize a field trip for us. So just put a little asterisk. I don't have it yet, but like I know Mitch, and he might. So that might go slightly long, but again, you can leave early. And then finally, one of our big deal classes that we're really excited about is April 13th. That will be at the Chatham County Agriculture Center. We will learn from Debbie Ruse, kind of plant pollinator extraordinaire of this area. She will teach us all about native plants. She'll teach us a little bit about designing a pollinator garden, and then we will go tour the pollinator paradise garden that she maintains at Chatham Mills. So that one typically also tends to go a little bit late, maybe to 1 or 2, and of course it's almost a 1-hour drive there. So that's a really fun one though. This was one that we got on the schedule after I saw that every single year Debbie would sell out 5 or 6 sessions of this class, and there was like a mad rush and you'd have to get on a wait list, and it was really hard to do, and I was like, we're just gonna have it standard. It's gonna be awesome. So, does anyone have any questions about this? Okay. Cool. Oh, and obviously your ratings on the right-hand side. Which brings us to a little bit about our textbook that we use. So, you can buy this fine beast. Can you tell that this was done by academics? You can buy these. We do have a discount code I can get you for 30% off. If you like having a hard copy, that's, I think, the way to go. If you like having a hard copy, but it's not really your moment right now to buy something like this, let me know, and I probably have one I can lend you, but I only have a small number of them. These are really great, and then the other way you can always interact with this is The Extension Gardener Handbook is available in its entirety online for free. That is something NC State's really committed to. It is also updated. Like, there will be several updates that go through online before a new version of the textbook is printed. But you should be able to work with it either way. These are all the different chapters. If you click on them, you go straight to, if the internet's, you go straight to the chapter. This is a fun little, okay, it doesn't matter. Imagine a chapter open. So you'll go straight to that chapter with all the images and with everything else that you'll possibly need. It's all right there. This is a really great way, I find, to be able to like access something kind of quickly when you're like, I want to look up that one random thing. Whereas a lot of times if you're sitting down and reading, I know a lot of us have a little bit more ease reading something where it's an actual physical text. But either way works really, really well. Okay. Yeah, so it's got all the images, it's got everything in it. It's a really nice textbook, and I think it's really cool that it's available for free. I always think it's nice that NC State does that.
Can we buy the book here?
You can't.
No.
But you can't. Yeah, we're kind of squirrely about handling money, if I'm being totally honest. But you can, if you still want to order one, I think there can be like a discount for ordering multiples, like with shipping. So if you still want to order one and you're not quite sure, just come up and see me afterwards and we might be able to put a group together, but then I would be like, this is your thing now to pursue, right? You figure this out. So, but great question. All right. So I think that we're actually getting pretty good. Do we have any more questions? Yeah.
Is it worth bringing the text to class, or is that fair to do the readings ahead and then show?
Yeah, I would do them ahead. Like for your back, it's probably not worth it. Like, you know, because a lot of times our speakers are they're going off and doing their own thing a little bit, which is kind of the fun of it. And typically what we will try to do for each class is we will try to have kind of 9 to 10:30 as a lecture component. 10:30 to 11 is snacks. You'll see a theme. The nice thing about snacks too is it's your time to talk, right? It's like your time to get to know each other. 11 to 12 will typically be some sort of hands-on activity, or it'll be problem solving a set together, or like we will try to make that more hands-on as best we can. Because our speakers are invited speakers, sometimes they're doing their thing, right? They're off there doing their thing, and we will do that, and that's great, but we will try to have hands-ons, especially when we can control it. And then 12 to 12:30 is really our time to talk about things that maybe we had a hard time with on the quiz, or to work in small groups on the project, or to talk about our feelings. But like, no, it's our time to really kind of come together as a group and do some of that sort of administrative work that's not just, do you know what a compound leaf is? But like, do you know how, like, are you feeling good about where you're gonna fit and how this is going, and how can we kind of touch base to make sure everyone's kind of hitting their right note? Does that make sense? So in general though, the book is, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Yes?
Will there be an opportunity for us to learn about other people's projects that might be similar to issues that we're individually facing, so that we can kind of learn from one another in that sense?
Yeah, we have some of that small group time will be kind of built around that a little bit, talking about the projects together. And so what you'll be doing is you'll be breaking into groups of 7 or 8, and you'll have a certified master gardener with you, one of our initial training committee members, and they'll talk you through it a little bit. So you'll be able to learn from each other there, and also kind of just even hear each other in terms of like what's sparking concern or what's sparking delight, you know, however it works. So there'll be a little bit of time to talk about that, yeah. But I would also say just like saddle up to people and be like, how's it going? You know?
Ashley, will you be going over our test results for our soil and, or not necessarily individually, but I mean just helping us to read it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so a huge part of that is going to be, if you come back to class 3, I believe it is, Dr. John Havlin, sorry, it was like the tiny version, but he will be talking to you about how do you interpret a soil sample, which is one of the reasons we really wanted you guys to have your test results back by then. Yeah.
What if we don't have them?
We'll figure it out. Yeah. If you don't have them, come talk to me and we'll just figure it out and it'll be fine. But And so there is something really exciting to me about someone from Chicago standing at the front of the room yelling. I love him. So he will talk to us about basically kind of the science behind soil testing and the type of soil testing that NCDA does, the science behind soil in general. And then his second half of class is typically him working through samples, examples, all this other stuff on how do you read those tests and how do you interpret them and kind of make recommendations. From that, you probably will have a good first leg on how to interpret your soil sample report because you'll have just gone through it. And if you're struggling, we'll just keep going through it together, right? That's where you would shoot me an email or someone else on the training committee an email and be like, hey, this is still green, right? And I'd be like, cool, let's work through it. So yeah.
Okay.
Did I hear a so? Okay. Do we have any? Yeah.
Do you know if there is a local, tool lending library? Some states have them, where you can basically just borrow a farming tool or something.
Oh, I wish. So we don't have one that I know of. Some other people in this room might know about them. Typically, if you want to borrow larger numbers of tools, like for volunteer opportunities and stuff, Keep Durham Beautiful actually works really well with that. But for kind of that sort of one-off lending library of tools, I think that's typically done more through like smaller groups than us. But if you need a tool, let me know. Like we have a lot of tools out at Griggs. Like I wouldn't say it's a tool library, but it is certainly you could borrow a tool if you needed it space. Yeah.
So given the parking difficulties, is there any way we could kind of figure out if some of us wanted to carpool, how
Yes.
we could do that, or?
Yeah, and I've heard one email about that. So what I would say is, let's actually, as we go to the break, maybe if folks are interested in carpooling, where do you guys want to get together? Outside? What feels good? Outside? Okay, so we could get together outside, and specifically if you know you're like carpooling, either interested or carpooling curious, right? You could head outside, and that's kind of where that group will be, so that they can kind of talk. Does that make sense? Does that sound good? Because it's going to be a lot for us to try and. Okay. We feeling good? Are we feeling ready to stretch our legs a little bit?
Yes.
All right, so we'll try to get back together in half an hour. Snacks are in the food lab. I hope Margaret set up and we didn't move too fast. We're fine. All right. Woo!
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know you were from Chicago. What? I know you were from Chicago.
Well, so I'm originally from Indiana, but my mom